microbit tutorial. In this video, we're going to be covering how to wire and program the servo motor. First, we'll start with the make code. So what you're going to want to do is open up a new make code project. And like we have in most projects, we're going to want to have a forever loop and an on start loop. Great. So the way the servo motor works is we hook it up to a pin and we send electricity from that pin to control it. So where all the servo motor commands are stored is right here under pins. And I'm going to go ahead and grab this pin that says servo write pin P0. I'm going to put it in start. Great. So what this command means, servo write pin P0, that means the servo's signal pin is connected to pin 0. So if you look at this little diagram here, here's our servo. It's getting 3 volts of electricity through the red wire. It's connected to the negative end of the battery or to ground through this blue wire. And then it's getting its signal through this purple wire. And you can see it's getting its signal from pin 0 right now. You'll be using the expansion board, but it'll be connected to pin 0 nonetheless. And let's start off by writing it to 100 degrees. You can either drag this or you can type here. So when we start this program, the servo will rotate to 100 degrees. Let's make it wait or pause for 1 second. Great. So the servo can rotate between 0 and 180 degrees. So in the forever loop, let's make it oscillate back and forth between some different rotations. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another one of these servo write commands. So servo write pin P0. Let's make it drop down to 20 degrees. We will pause for 1 second. And then let's go ahead and move the servo again. Let's move it to like 160. Notice I don't really like to go to 0 or 180. Those are the outer reaches of the pin. And I need to have a pause command. You see it's twitching down here. That's because we're not giving it any time to rotate to the angle we told it. So I'll go ahead and add a pause command. Perfect. And this is what your servo should do. It'll start at 100 degrees and then you'll see it rotate back and forth. You can go ahead and download this code, upload it to your microbit, and then in the next section of this video, I'll show you how to wire the servo to your microbit in order to get this to work. Welcome to the second part of this video tutorial, where we will learn how to wire the servo motor to our microbit using the expansion board. The components you need to complete this part of the tutorial is your BBC microbit, 3 male to female wires. I like using red, orange, and brown. A servo motor, and your microbit expansion board. It might look a little different than this one, but basically something that can allow your microbit to have all these pins accessible. We don't actually need our breadboard for this activity, so we'll just leave this here for now, but we won't be using the breadboard. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to do is take our microbit and insert it into the edge connector. Very easy, very straightforward. What that's going to do is give us access to all these pins. The reason we need these pins is we have to wire our servo motor. So take a moment to look at your servo motor. You'll notice the end of it has 3 wires: a brown wire, a red wire, and an orange wire. And then at the top of it, there are 3 holes that correspond to those 3 wires. The brown wire is always going to go to ground, or 0 volts, on the expansion board. The red wire, this is where the servo gets power, will always go to 3 volts on the expansion board. And the orange wire will go to the signal pin. And if you remember from our make code, we told the microbit that pin 0 is where the servo is connected. So this orange wire is going to go to pin 0. You'll also notice your servo motor has this little plastic attachment. Out of the box, your servo motor might come looking like this, and you'll have a little baggie of attachments. You can grab different attachments and snap them on. I like this one because it's really easy to see if it's moving. All right, well, let's go ahead and wire this up. First, I'm going to start with the brown wire. So I'll grab my brown male to female wire. I will connect the brown wire so that it lines up with the brown wire of the servo. And I'll take this other end, and let me zoom in here and focus. I'll connect this end to ground, or 0 volts, which looks like right here. So as you can see, the brown wire is connected to 0 volts on the expansion board, and it's also connected to the brown wire on the servo. Next, let's go ahead and connect this red wire. So I'll take my red male to female wire, and like so, red goes to red. The other end of this wire will go to 3 volts on the microbit. So as you can see, red wire goes to 3 volts. And then finally, the last step is to connect our orange wire to pin 0. Remember, that's what we used in make code as our servo pin. If you picked a different pin, you'll have to wire this orange wire to something different. But for this tutorial, let's connect this orange wire to pin P0, which is down here for us. Again, to recap, brown goes to 0 volts, red goes to 3 volts, orange goes to pin 0. One thing to note is do not turn or try to turn the servo by hand. That's a good way to damage the motor. So when it's unplugged, don't turn it by hand. But now that we're all wired up, let's go ahead and plug our microbit in. So right now I have a USB cable that's attached to my computer. I will plug this in. And as you can see, the servo motor starts to spin. Just as we programmed, it's oscillating between 20 degrees and 160 degrees. Now, what you might find is your servo motor might be twitchy or not spinning properly. If that's the case, you have a couple of options. What's happening, if it's not spinning very well, is you're not getting enough electricity. And what you could use instead is try to use a battery pack and plug it into the microbit, that might be able to provide you with enough power. So how are you going to use your servo motor? Well, you can program these to move to whatever angle you want after certain commands. So maybe if you were making a sunshade, when you cover up the microbit, you could program a motor to rotate and turn a sunshade over. You could attach this to a window, and when it's light outside, it could open a window for you. If you're programming a robot, you could use these to control the arms or the legs. Again, it doesn't have to just rotate back and forth like this. You can program it to do whatever you want. So that's how you program a servo motor and then wire it up to the microbit using the expansion kit. Thanks for watching.